So something interesting happened with CNN. CNN is going to be putting a very tight control over the presidential debate. And so CNN is going to have this debate scheduled to be on YouTube. Hey, isn't that great? So it should be fair use, as independent media has been covering a lot of these presidential debates for years. I know that we here at Hardlands Media, we did that in 2020. Hell, we did that for all the primary debates too. Boy, dude, don't you remember that year of 2020 when we still had the audacity of hope? But no, something is wrong here. Something is horribly wrong here. So I want to pull this up here. It's from our friends at Breaking Point, because they got a snub from CNN. So let's go ahead and play this video.
We plan on streaming our analysis here. However, as you guys know, CNN has the quote-unquote exclusive rights, since they're the ones who are holding it. Now, they have given permission to every major news organization in the U.S. C-SPAN, ABC News, Fox News, except even Fox News have permission. So we got a weird email today at Breaking Points from YouTube, basically asking us and reminding us to confirm copyright policy. So freaking out a little bit. What's going on? I get the email for the head of CNN Communications. I'm not going to read her name here, but I'll just read you the email that we wrote her and her response. I said, "Hi, Sagar and Jetty here from Breaking Points, news show hosted on YouTube, etc. Reaching out on the advice of YouTube for permission to be able to stream the debate on our YouTube channel, as has already been granted to other news organizations in keeping standing with the norms around presidential debates. Please advise if we have permission to stream this debate with our commentary in keeping with the fair use doctrine." Here's CNN's response. "Hi, Sagar. The debate will be available on CNN's YouTube channel. We are not offering the feed for other YouTube channels." So that's it, Crystal. Despite the fact that they are giving permission to every other major news organization, they are effectively stifling all of independent media by banning our ability to stream the debate on YouTube. So look, we will do a before stream and an after stream. We'll do our best, but this is outrageous. It is a total violation of any of the norms and the spirits.
This never happened before. Now, myself and Daniel, especially when we covered the 2020 presidential primary debates, and yes, even the main one between Trump versus Biden, we made it very clear, especially when it came down to CNN, that we would have at least still images of the candidates speaking. So we didn't play the videos in their full entire. We did play the stream, but audio heard only, but with the screenshots of the presidential candidates speaking and talking to each other. However, this is very important here. The fact that CNN now has that monopoly, that means anybody who could potentially share share any kind of snippets of it could be hit by YouTube's system. So to my colleagues in independent media, we have to be a little bit careful in regards to how all of us are going to be covering the aftermath of this debate, because I'm willing to bet this is just me being overly paranoid, because I've gone through the rodeo of being censored 9 times. You know, it's not a lot of fun, but I'm willing to bet that any clips of the debates will be protected by CNN and YouTube. So anybody in independent media, just be careful if you're going to be playing any kind of videos from this debate that will be taking place tomorrow. And maybe I'm wrong. I'm willing to accept that. Maybe I'm overthinking it. But I'm willing to bet that that's the length at which CNN is going to go and YouTube is willing to go to really control this debate and who is allowed to properly cover it. Because independent media has been doing this for quite some time now
around presidential debates.
Yeah, that's right.
And if it was it'd be one thing if they said, no, it's all going to be on CNN.
Yeah.
But you're allowing freaking Fox News and everybody else to play this, but not us and Tim Pool show, who also reached out to CNN and got a similar response. It's total bullshit. It's an attack basically on their nascent competitors.
It is an attack on independent media.
Yes.
There's no other way to read it, because like you said, listen, this is part of the fallout from them going away from the Presidential Debate Commission. Now that it's like this just private agreement between the parties, they decided they could do whatever they want. And what they wanted was to allow their direct competitors in cable news to be able to stream the debate, but not us and not any other YouTube creator. So it is
the reason why, and I've said this before, corporate media, and a lot of these journalists, let's go back to 2015, were extremely jealous and petty towards, that's right, YouTube content creators. There was a time when YouTube used to be a meritocracy. There was a time when YouTube used to be, a little bit more freer. I remember those days. Those were some fun days. A lot of fun times. But YouTube, being the environment in which there were content creators that were vastly popular than corporate media, because corporate media was losing views. Mind you, this is again before 2016. So 2014, 2015, corporate media decided to do a whole smear campaign against YouTube content creators, against YouTube's platform. And eventually, through enough bullying and harassment, corporate media was able to worm, slime like a parasite into our landscape and eventually have the algorithm favor them. It's not something that should be allowed. It should never have happened. But corporate media at that time, when it was still somewhat powerful, was able to pull all of its weight and crush any kind of opposition, which is why we are now where we are at. Corporate media was able to control it, have the monopoly, and now we're seeing it in full force. That means no one from independent media will be able to live stream this or cover this on YouTube. And if you think that they're going to stop here with YouTube, knowing corporate media, because they want everybody to watch them, they're going to try and get into every single platform out there. Now, thankfully, there's Rumble, Rockfin, and Odyssey. And yes, Kick as well. But the lengths in which corporate media, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and the rest will go in order to make sure that none of you ever forget who they are, it's astounding. They haven't realized that no one respects these institutions, and this is another reason why we need to stop viewing and supporting any kind of direct way of helping out corporate media. We have to shift through the news to obviously go through the lies, but it must be our social responsibility to break away from the monopoly control of corporate media and to call them out. We have to now watch and listen to the news to find out what they're lying to us about.
It's outrageous. It does feel like a direct attack. We're, of course, going to do great analysis beforehand and afterwards, but that's the reason why we will be unable to stream the actual debate on our channel.
Bad cookies. Get up and go see the White House counselor. Crystal looks more disappointed than she does on Freaky Friday night, eh? Eh? What's wrong with you, bad cookies? This is a family-friendly show.
No. Although every mainstream outlet will have access to it. That's
exactly
the landscape we're playing in here.
That is just a stab in the front. It's like, you're going to give it to C-SPAN. You're going to give it to Fox News, ABC News, by the way, those are your actual competitors. Those are the people you're competing against for ad dollars. This is just screw you. They're doing it because they can. And so, look, it's outrageous. Support us if you can, guys. Breaking Points.
Yes, of course, Breaking Points. We'll try. No, not really. Also want to give a shout out to Sabby Sab. CNN's debate is currently scheduled on YouTube, so it should be fair use. Independent media has been covering presidential debates for years. This is ridiculous. And it's only going to be streamed by CNN. And of course, Fox News and all the rest of them will be covering it too. It's fascinating. Now, I do want to pull up this other video here because it's our good friend Robbie. Remember Robbie from The Hill? Robbie, give us your 2 cents.
Big story here because RFK Jr. will not be in this debate, despite polling 10% or 12% in some national polls. Again, it's not that he has to get to 15 because they threw the rule book out. They can do whatever they want. So they are consciously choosing not to feature a candidate that 1 in 10 Americans is saying they might vote for in November.
And RFK Jr.'s legal team has pointed to some of the FEC regulations of what constitutes an official presidential debate because they move the deadline to, you have to be officially on the ballot, able to receive electoral college votes. But a lot of secretaries of state across the country don't even count the signatures, don't even assess the paperwork to ensure that, RFK Jr. or any candidate can be on the ballot. And so because that deadline is typically later in the summer, they've structured the rules in a way to exclude RFK Jr. But we also don't have the official RNC and DNC conventions yet. neither Trump nor Biden are considered to be, the official nominees of either party. And so the legal team's raising this question, well, if you're excluding me for this reason, you should exclude them as well. We shouldn't be allowed to have a debate if these are the real rules and you're not just trying to have a debate between Biden and Trump. And so even in Australia, they're covering this and saying, look at what's going on in America. I was watching a clip of Sky News, and they're saying, look at how corrupt their democratic process is. Look at what CNN is doing to exclude this viable candidate from a debate.
Yeah.
It's not only that, they're excluding other people too. There's, of course, Jill Stein. CNN debate was planned with Biden and Trump to lock out other candidates, even when over 60% of voters want choices outside of the failed two-party system. But nonetheless, they're not going to allow Jill Stein to debate. They're even not going to allow RFK Jr. to debate. I want to pull up this video from Case Study QB. Let's go ahead and play it.
No more censorship. No more censorship.
Here in California, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. supporters gathered outside of CNN's West Coast headquarters. The network is hosting the next debate between the presidential candidates. And these supporters, they are upset about the independent candidate, RFK Jr., being excluded. And on Friday in Los Angeles, they showed up with a petition. Listen.
We are here today to present to CNN a petition of over 200,000 signatures nationwide asserting that we want Mr. Kennedy to be allowed in the CNN debate and future debates.
So Kennedy missed a deadline last Thursday to meet criteria set by CNN. That included appearing on enough state ballots to potentially win the presidency and getting at least 15% support in 4 separate national polls. Kennedy has reached that mark in 3 polls, but has qualified for the ballot in just 6 states.
Now, I think these rules are absolute BS, but there's another problem, too, with these debates, especially what's going to take place for tomorrow, and that is the moderators. And let's face it, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash will be the moderators for the debate between Trump and Biden. But there's going to be a clear bias. And while, of course, there's going to be a lot of control variables to take place, this is going to be a prime example of the last desperate attempts of a neoliberal corporate media outlet trying to control a narrative and do everything it can to maintain its presence. Because after all, CNN has its agenda. Now, secretly, I have said this before. Secretly, probably, there are people in CNN who are rubbing their hands, foaming at the mouth, hoping that Trump does win, because in that way, they get more viewers. But on the other hand, too, remember, Trump made MSNBC and CNN look bad, so they're going to do everything they can to make him look bad. I want to pull up this video here. Let's watch it. Brace yourselves, folks. CNN has a whole plan for tomorrow.
Themselves as professionals, as they have covered campaigns and interviewed candidates from all sides of the aisle. I'll also say that if you talk to analysts of debates previous, that if you're attacking the moderators, you're usually losing. So I really want to focus in on what these two men are going to do and say when they stand on the stage. Now, we have a little bit of what Donald Trump, your boss, has said in trying to set expectations for this debate. I want to play a series of his comments, and then we'll talk about it. Watch.
Well, maybe I'm better off losing the debate. I'll make sure he says I'll lose the debate on purpose. Maybe I'll do something like that.
I assume he's going to be somebody that will be a worthy debater.
Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
So he's basically saying there, well, will I let Joe Biden win? It does seem as though many Republicans have set the bar very low in terms of arguing that Joe Biden is basically senile. Now you have people like Doug Burgum coming out and saying, well, President Biden's very accomplished, trying to set expectations in a different place. What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently,
we're going to stop this interview if you're going to keep
President
attacking my colleague.
Now, you can't do that. Now, of course, this is her show, but you invite somebody on to be on your show to give them your piece. Now, I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but I'm willing to bet that CNN is going to do everything it can to make Biden look competent. Because I don't know what kind of concoction they're going to give Joe Biden for tomorrow. Whatever it is, it better be potent enough to make sure his brain doesn't melt down. But then there's also the anchors, the moderators, the people who will be there, who will be trying to control everything that you see and hear. They're making sure of it. They're making sure that nothing goes wrong. And this is a quick shutdown of a guest who's on CNN, who's supposed to give her piece, her point of view, her perspective, and it's being dismissed.
Adolf Hilter. Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden.
But that's how fast they control it. I mean, hey, look what happens to progressives and independents and how we get silenced, how we get suppressed, how we get pushed aside. The big takeaway for tomorrow's debate is that this is control. 1984, Brave New World, Fahrenheit 451. It's all together. Somebody looked at all three of those books and decided to staple them together and say, hey, this would be a great manual. Why don't we just click, copy, paste everything that we see in these three books and use them in the real world? It's about silencing opponents, silencing criticism. They're not going to let the third parties or independents on the debate stage. That's abundantly clear. They're not going to allow audience members to be in there. They are not going to allow independent media to stream and cover it. What's the point of this debate then? What's the point of this debate if people are not allowed to see different perspectives and points of view? What's the point of having this debate if it's going to be controlled, like in a sterile room? What's the point if there's not going to be an audience? What's the point if no one can cover it? Because that is my concern, that even the clips from this CNN debate are going to be protected. And knowing YouTube and how it acts and how it perceives people breaking its guidelines, quote unquote, it's going to drop the hammer on a lot of people. That's what I see happening. This isn't a democratic debate. This is a corporatist debate. This is a corporate debate that is designed to be controlled and, dare I say it, convince people to support old man Biden. If this is not insidious, I don't know what else to tell you. I've never seen anything like this before. Hard Lens Media, we've been covering debates and politics and election cycle for almost 7 years now. 7 years doing this. And I've never seen it get this insane. Thankfully, there are other platforms like Rumble, Rockfin, and Odyssey, and Kick. But even that's not enough, because I know too well how corporate media responds to threats and challenges to its prestige, to its how it presents itself to the world. Corporate media, as an institution, wants to make sure that none of you escape its grasp, to make sure none of you question it. But question it always. Why aren't there other candidates on there? Why isn't there an audience? Why is it that CNN is having this tight control so that no one else in independent media can cover it? They're going to give it to their competitors, of course. But even CNN made it very clear to its competitors, hey, you're acknowledging that this is done by CNN. And then that's it. No one's going to change anything. George Carlin was right. George Carlin is doing that musical in the sky. No, he's not vomiting in his grave. No, he's not spinning in his grave. No, he's not jumping out of his grave. He is up there in the big sky, dancing and laughing at all of us, saying, I told you so. Must be one hell of a Broadway musical.